Okay, hello everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Great to have all of you here for another internship presentation. This time, we're very much looking forward to the final presentation from Rineke, who's been with us for the last 4 months. She's got a really interesting personal background growing up in Nigeria and now living in the Netherlands. And contacted me probably about 6 months ago now saying that I'd like to come and work on a gender project here in Ecuador. And I've really enjoyed watching her progress from the beginnings to completing her project. And yeah, sadly, we're going to be saying goodbye in a couple of days. But this is her final presentation of all of the work that she's been doing. Very much looking forward to sharing it with all of the people, including some of the people who's previously been with us and some of the people who will be joining us further down the line. So over to you, Rineke.
Thank you very much. I first want to also say welcome to everyone. I see some of my family. I saw Caroline from my church back home, and some people from here. And Anna, a previous intern, I also talked a lot with you in the first week. And a special welcome also to my colleagues, Joshua, Pamela, and Sebastian. Um, yeah, these three colleagues and mentors have really guided me through this whole process. I would like to share my screen for the presentation. Let's see if this works. Can you see my screen?
Perfect.
Okay. So, yeah, this is the presentation for my project, which I called EmpowerHer or Empoderarla in Spanish, encouraging girls to take ownership of their future. It's not a moment. Yes. So today I'll give a little bit of an introduction of my internship. I will talk about the methodology that I used. I'll share the research results, the workshops that I did, then the result of those workshops, and then I will be highlighting some of my recommendations. So first, I am a master's student from Wageningen University in International Development Studies. And I'm doing this internship as part of my program there. And because of that, I contacted El Terreno to do a gender research through El Terreno. El Terreno has a variety of projects from agriculture to education to gender to water projects. So that was really interesting for me. And also, El Terreno works directly with community. And recently, El Terreno started working with Cochabamba Bilingual School. This is a school 20 minutes from where El Terreno is located and has teaches Spanish and Quechua, uses Spanish and Quechua, and has from nursery education all the way to school education, which is the high school education is specialized in agriculture. And this is where I did my project, this is where I did my research, and yeah, everything. Let me go to the next slide. So the methodology that I use, this is a very user focused methodology. As you can see here with the double diamond, you start with the problem, and we kind of start broad to try to see all the different aspects of the problem. So in this case, for me, it was gender. And then through research, through my interviews and questionnaires, I start to see patterns and I can narrow it down to a single problem statement. And from that moment, I start to look into solutions and to deliver a project. Because I only did a pilot project, I did not complete this whole phase. Design thinking is a very iterative process. And so I kind of stopped with like just designing a solution and then it's for another intern or someone else to take it from there. I also worked very closely with my mentors at El Terreno, with Joshua, with Pamela and Sebastian, and they kind of guided me into the designing of my project, and especially Sebastian and Pamela, they guided me through the field work, working in the school, translating for me, guiding me into how to apply what I've designed into the context at the school. So the very first thing I did is I designed some interviews for the teacher at the school because I needed to kind of get a broad idea of the gender inequality at the school. And because of time, I couldn't go and interview all the students individually. So I decided to talk to all the teachers and get their opinion of the situation at the school, of the lives of the girls, of the struggles they have, perhaps. And so I highlighted the main, can you hear the rain or no?
No, it's fine.
Okay, okay. So these five points that I put here are kind of the main conclusions from those interviews. So the first thing is that boys and girls have similar struggles. We came to this conclusion because I would ask the teachers about the lives of the girls, about their struggles, and they would always reply with the students. And so they were always focusing on both boys and girls. And for some issues, they say that it's worse for girls, but generally, it's boys and girls have similar struggles according to the teachers. Um, so then next point was migration. A lot of the parents have migrated. I feel like the rain is really loud, but you can still hear me.
Yeah, I can see out my window it's raining hard, but your voice is fine.
Okay. If you can hear me, I'll just continue. So migration was another issue that the parents talked about, or the teachers talked about. A lot of parents have migrated to the United States and to the coast, leaving the children alone at home. So the children also have a lot of responsibilities at home because they're just living alone. Also, migration among the teenagers, there's a very strong want to go and work and drop out of school. And so was another issue that was highlighted as well. Then the problem of teenage pregnancy was a big concern for the teachers as well. Yeah, in surrounding communities, it's especially a big problem. At Cochipamba School, there were a few cases last year. And then they all also talked about the lack of motivation to continue studying at the school or after the secondary school. And then they also talked about how shy the students are and they really, really dislike speaking in public. And this problem is worse for girls than for boys. So based on these conclusions, I decided that it was important for me to also get the insights from the students. And so I created questionnaires for the students, which they could, through which I can kind of get the information from them. I decided to work with Básica Superior students. Next slide. These are students, the first three classes of high school. And I chose this group because a lot of the problems that the teachers highlighted were in the last 3 years of high school. And so I decided to focus my projects on the years directly below that, so that in that way to kind of address the problems before it actually becomes a problem. And so I identified these 5 aspects, which I focused on in my questionnaires. That is how much they feel in control of their lives, if they make plans. The next one was about marriage and children. And then I talked about self-esteem, female leadership, and then personal development. So for each question, I analyzed the question in 3 ways. So I looked first at what all the students answered. So I looked at the percentage of that. Then I analyzed it looking at the difference between the classes. And then I looked at the difference between boys and girls in the answers. And so from that, these three conclusions were the biggest for me. So the first is about the student's self-esteem. And that revealed that a little less than half of the students feel that all people or most people are more important than them. Yeah, this was a question where I asked them if if they think that other people are more important than them. And quite a lot feel that other people are more important than them. Then I looked into the different classes, and something that stood out for me is that the older the students get, the less in control of their lives they feel. And then the third conclusion was regarding gender, and I had written a question about if they feel that they know how to realize their future dreams. And for this question, the difference between boys and girls was very significant. As you can see here, I circled it, that 72% of the boys say that they know how to realize their future dreams, while this number is only 32% for the girls. And so this leads me to my problem statement, which is that in Pachapamba school, over twice as many boys as girls, ages 12 to 16, feel confident about realizing their future dreams and desires. And you can see here the pie chart that I made. You see that for girls, only 20% answered always compared to 55% of the boys. And then the same for mostly. And when we look at the answer for no, I don't know how to realize my dreams, you will also see again the flip side. The boys, there are only 17% of those for the boys, but for the girls, this is quite a large number, 36%. So I decided to work with this in my workshops. And this brings me to the solution statement that we created, which is how might we support girls in Cochabamba school to feel more confident in identifying and achieving their dreams. So this is kind of the basis for the project that I did. So if we think about the double diamond that I showed before, we now started to open up the research again, where we try to find as many possible solutions, to brainstorm a lot of solutions, and in that way, to be able to find the best possible solution. So I created an ideation workshop with my colleagues and my mentors, where I presented the project so far, and then I got all their ideas for how to address this problem and how to find the best solution. And I organized this into an effort versus impact matrix. So you can see the ideal solution would be in the top left, because this has a little effort, but a high impact. So that's kind of how I came up with the idea to do workshops, as this was located in that area of the matrix. So I then created the workshops with 4 objectives, and we'll see them that in the next slide. I used a Peace Corps manual, which is focused on personal development in other countries, in many different, like international personal development. And I use this with the idea that if the school likes what I did, they can just take the manual and use that to further scale the workshops. Then I also worked with 3 teachers from the focus group, 3 female teachers. They really also helped me to decide how to organize it, how to inform the students about the workshops, things like that. And the workshops were structured in a way that the students start with something, a fun activity. then we go into the main lesson of the day, which is a bit more like teaching. And then it concludes with the students talking with each other, discussing with each other about their what they have learned. And then I also gave them journals in which they could write and reflect or draw or whatever way they wanted to reflect about what they learned in that day. Pamela, my mentor, was the facilitator. She's the one that gave the workshops. And yeah, I'm really thankful that she was able to do that and that we were able to plan this together. So I had 4 objectives and I turned each objective into a session. So the first session was reflecting on the past. And in this session, the students made a timeline of their life, and they had to, from the moment they were born until now, and they had to kind of like reflect on important moments in their life, and they had to like point it out on the timeline. If it was something that was very good or very beautiful in their life, they write it above the line. And if it was something that was challenging or difficult, they write it below the line. And this kind of gave them like a visual thing through which they can reflect on their past and talk to each other about it. Yeah, so this session ended with us telling the students that the past has an effect on their future, but it doesn't have to determine our future. That the girls still have a choice in what they want for the future. So then the second session was about the future. And this was a little bit more of in a new concept for the girls. It was like really an envisioning moment. So they had to like close their eyes and envision what they want, how they saw themselves in 10 years emotionally, if they have a job, if they have children, what kind of job and where are they living. But even though it was a little bit, the girls giggled a little bit at the beginning, they still participated in it. And then after, again, they shared with each other and they also wrote in their journal. And then the third session was about identifying their personal strengths. In this session, they had to recall something like a success in their life. And then on basis on that, they kind of wrote down like what personal strengths helped them to get this success. This was a little bit difficult for the girls. It was quite hard for them to write their personal strengths. But then the next part of the exercise was for them to identify each other's strengths, which they just passed around their journals, and then their peers wrote down a strength. But this was really nice to see because it was easier for them to write about their peer strengths, and they were writing like paragraphs about each other, and that was really, really nice to see. And this also helps them to see the strength that others see in them. And then the last session was about making realistic goals and setting realistic goals and making action plans. We did this by teaching them about SMART goals, and teaching them how to make their goals SMART. And so we use an example, and then each of them had to write their own SMART goal for what they wanted in the future. And then after they had written the SMART goal, then they had to make like action plans, like, okay, what can I do now first to reach that goal? And so yeah, the girls also really had nice SMART goals, and the action plans also really made the goals smaller for them, more attainable in that sense. And a lot of them came to the conclusion that, for example, one of them wanted to study tourism, and she came to the conclusion something that I can do now is to finish my secondary school. So that's something very, very practical that even though she may not enjoy everything that happens at school, but then she knows for her future, this is what she needs to to get into the university that she wants and so on. So that were the workshops. At the end, I had a little celebration with them. We ate some cake, and yeah, it was really really nice to end this in this way with them. So then at the end, I also gave them the same questions I had given them before in the questionnaires to see if there was a difference in how they answered those questions. Um, and again, I put here the most significant one, which is again the same questions, um, which form the basis for the problem statement, which is, do you know how to realize your future dreams and desires? And on the left-hand side, again, we can see how the girls answered the question before, with 20% saying always and 36% saying no, never. And then on the right-hand side, we can see how the girls answered the questions after, and we can see a very big difference. I can't see the percentages. Yeah, 56% of the girls now saying yes, they know they have more of an idea of how to realize their future dreams. And the nobody answered no anymore. So yeah, was for me more than I could have imagined that the effect of the workshops would have on the girls. And so yeah, it's taking in the fact that it was only a 4-session workshop, it's a really, really big success. And yeah, I'm really happy that the girls were really open to these workshops and that they really learned something from it. And this brings me to my recommendation, which would be, first of all, these are my recommendations to El Terreno for this project. I really enjoyed using the design thinking based methodology along with the yeah, what I call the colonized approach, which is listening to the locals, listening to local experts, and a very user focused methodology. My second recommendation would be to consider a project designer to scale these workshops because of the big impact the little pilot project had. It could have even a bigger impact if these workshops were yeah, on a larger scale from 6 months to a year. And then in addition to that, it would be really great to, while scaling these workshops, to collaborate with local teachers as a way for sustainable expansion, in which it can then continue without external facilitators coming in. So these are my recommendations. And if you have any questions, there's time now.
Thank you, Rineke, for a very clear, concise presentation. I think you transmitted everything that you've done over the last few months in a really clear way. Congratulations. It's always really rewarding for me to see the sorts of results that people hope to get for while they're here. And I think those questionnaires kind of speak for themselves. And, hopefully it is the beginning of something, and actually continuing on the work that Anna were doing and other interns, and we can continue to grow them. So we'll go to some questions in a minute. I've got a couple of questions first, but yeah, feel free to put your hands up or write in the chat if you've got something you'd like to ask. My first question is, you've lived now on 3 continents, and you've already mentioned that we were talking today about the difference of working with these different groups. What would you say are the biggest differences that you've noticed working with young girls in Cochabamba compared to the other communities? And what would you suggest for people who might be coming here and running some activities to bear in mind?
Thank you for the question. I think biggest difference, and was a little bit challenging in the beginning as well, is that the girls, especially in Cochabamba, are very, very shy. And so it can be hard to kind of come close to them and to understand what they're going through, or to even understand if they understand what you're trying to teach them or what you're asking them. They're very shy. They kind of watch from a distance. But I also know that at towards the end of my stay, they became more open, especially after the workshops. They were much more open to me. In the beginning, they never wanted me to take pictures with them or anything. And at the end, when it was my last day at the school, they came to me to take pictures also. So I think that would be a difference. And my advice would be to really come with a more open mind, and really put the focus group in the center. So not I need this certain type of project to get donors, but this is what the girls need, or this is what the focus group needs. I think that ensures the best result.
Thank you. Sebastian has a question.
Hi, Rineke.
Sebastian?
You listen me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Congratulations of your great work. Yeah, focusing in the sustainability of the process you start, this process of empower the kids, the community, and expand the suggestion and recommendation you give. What kind of suggestion, very practical and specific, to continue this work in el terreno and the school?
So your question is what kind of suggestions I have for who? For the school, or
For what
for
kind of,
in general?
yeah, for no, very specific and practical suggestions to continue this process between this alliance in el terreno and the school, to continue this and long term be sustainable for the kids. Yeah, that's my question.
Yeah. Yeah. So the first one I can think of is, which I said in the recommendations also, is to really partner up with someone who's designing the projects from El Terreno, and a teacher who is willing to be the facilitator for these workshops, and who can then take it from there with the school. And yeah, I think that's the main one that I have, because the relations with El Terreno and Cochabamba School is important. And it's good to keep working together. But for now, we have had like everything, like Pamela gave the workshops, but it would be nice if it's also a teacher from the school who is also invested into giving those workshops, so that it can be more sustainable, and it can maybe even become part of a curriculum, certain part of the year, or something like that. Yeah.
Thank you. Would
Thank
be
you,
great that.
Sebastian.
Thank you. Adrian.
I was just curious overall about how many girls attended the workshops.
That's a good question. 17. It was designed for 19 girls, but 17 girls attended. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Any other questions? I have another one. So you talked about how you could imagine from a partnership perspective how things could continue. What would you do in terms of the actual activities, either to improve on the original workshops that you led, or to expand them and offer something which is longer?
So this was only 4 sessions, and so we kind of had to pick and choose what we thought were the most important. But kind of what I saw from the Peace Corps life skills as well, it really starts with knowing yourself, understanding your own values, things like that. So I would focus on a more, starting at a simpler place than going right into now we're reflecting in the past. Now we're identifying our strengths. It's a lot for the girls to take in four sessions. The next thing I would say is I have a lot of evaluation answers from the girls. And so to take that into consideration, what they liked, what they didn't like. And also in the process of doing the workshops, we also realized that some things didn't work, and so we changed it for the next day. And that's also all outlined in my report, which would definitely be important for when scaling to really take that into consideration. Yeah.
Caroline asks, how were the girls selected or invited to the workshops?
I introduced the workshops to all the Básica Superior girls, which is the girls ages 12 to 16 at the school. We didn't make it mandatory. We just presented the workshops to the girls, and then we just said, who wants to join? And all of the girls said yes. And so all the girls from those 3 classes joined. So there was no like selection. Yeah.
And Pamela, as Rineke's primary mentor and obviously facilitating the workshop, it'd be really nice to hear from you about your experience, how you feel that Rineke did in her planning and in the execution of her projects, and anything else you'd like to share from the experience.
Okay, what could I say about Rineke? It was so nice to work with her. It was nice, the energy and how she get involved in these gender topics and then gender issues. So I feel like she put a lot of her heart and knowledge in this and a lot of effort because we work a lot in this, and that's very valuable. But you asked me to say a suggestion also, sorry.
Just how was your experience and how
okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Yes, I think that's all I could say.
Do you have any suggestions?
Yes. Should I tell them now or later?
If you've got ideas about how the project could improve in future, that would be great.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Doing the workshops, we have some things that I think, well, that are important because I mean, when we were doing the workshops, I forget this word, sorry. I mean, the thing is to do a really good research on what the teenagers like in tasting music, or to get really involved in that, because when we were doing the workshops, some of the teenagers, the girls, didn't get attached to okay, we're going to play this game and we're going to play this music, and they don't feel really related with that. So it was kind of a wall between us, like, for me it's like really important to know the context, to know the girls, to know what they like, what is good, I don't know, what's a good exercise in this workshop, so they can get involved and understand that. But because also that's the problem, the language barrier, the cultural barrier that we have, because we are citizens of a lot of parts of the world. And that's a suggestion. But yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, a really good point, because they live a very different world, a completely different life. And as Rineke said, they're generally quite shy. So actually learning about those things in a really intimate way takes time to be able to build those relationships. So anyone who's watching this who's going to be coming in future. That's a really important tip. So thank you. Last opportunity if anyone would like to ask any questions. Otherwise, we will wrap it up there. Pamela and Sebastian, who have spoken today, they're both our mentors who work here at El Terreno. Pamela is also going to be doing a presentation in a few weeks regarding gender inequality and the work that she's been doing with us here from her perspective. So be sure to keep an eye out for that, and if you're interested in this subject. Rineke, once again, congratulations, a massive round of applause for all of the hard work and all of the passion and commitment. You've been professional all the way through. You've been open, considerate, and I know that above all else, you've really been doing the work from your heart. Like you've really wanted to do this and try and improve the lives of young girls who, apart from that, really don't get any meaningful support. You know, as you mentioned, there's a lot of parents who have migrated away, and you know, I'm sure a lot of them will take away and really take on board the work and the impact that it's had. So thanks very much, and for leaving this presentation, your report, and this legacy, so that we can continue work in the benefit of young girls in this region. So thanks again.
Thank you very much as well.
Great. This recording will be available on YouTube later this week. So if anyone wants to go back and see it, and of course, if anyone's interested in joining us here at El Terreno, you can visit us at www.elterrenoecuador.com. Okay, thanks very much. Go well, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.